Tonight on Breaking the News, our state's attorney general is looking at what he says is the biggest Medicaid fraud charge his office has ever taken on. But in court, this is taking some confusing turns. Lou Raguse was there to explain it in our top story. Then President Biden is supposed to go to Israel tomorrow to meet with all sides as the crisis in the Middle East grows worse by the hour. Here at home, a letter signed by our Jewish Community Relations Council and 100 others is saying what is happening over there is causing a rise in hate for Palestinians and Jews here at home, and it has to stop.
And after a nice October day, we do have more clouds and some rain chances in the forecast. We'll time it all off, plus a sneak peek at next weekend.
Plus, some good news. Every Friday, when the Edina Marching Band steps out under the lights, they make sure one bandmate isn't on the sidelines.
It makes him really happy, and I think it makes people happy to see him participating in the band.
Breaking the News starts now. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start with Medicaid. In the state of Minnesota, 1.5 million people rely on Medicaid benefits. And as more and more people retire, that number is going up and fast. In fact, it already has. In the last 3 years, it's gone up 25%. And with a pool of people that large, it leaves a lot of room for bad actors. Nationwide, some estimates say the programs lose more than $100 billion a year to fraud. Case in point, in Minnesota right now, a major investigation is ongoing into what the Attorney General says is the biggest Medicaid fraud ever prosecuted by his office. And it's not done charging yet. AG Keith Ellison says personal care assistant, or PCA companies, filed false claims to steal more than $9 million in your taxpayer money. But in the courtroom today, one defendant said this isn't that simple. Here's Lou Raguse.
Just like the Feeding Our Future case, this PCA fraud investigation is taking place almost entirely within Minneapolis' Somali community. Today, Abi Rashid Saeed testified that these companies under investigation paid him $188,000 in the form of loans based on friendship and trust within their community.
Were those checks for employment for you, Mr. Saeed?
No.
What were they for?
Loans.
Abi Rashid Saeed was convicted in 2021 of theft by Swindle. His personal care assistant, or PCA company, offered legitimate personal care services, helping people, often elderly or disabled, who need assistance with things like grooming, bathing, eating, or using the bathroom. Payment for the services comes through a Medicaid program administered by the Minnesota Department of Human Services. But Saeed admitted his company tricked DHS into fraudulently paying $77,000 in Medicaid funds through phony payroll documents. He was ordered not to work for companies that receive Medicaid payments.
These are Medicaid funds that we are talking about.
Now, prosecutors accuse Saeed of receiving dozens of checks since his conviction, totaling $188,000 from other PCA companies that receive Medicaid payments, a direct violation of Saeed's probation. DHS has now stopped all Medicaid payments to those particular companies because the Attorney General is investigating them as part of its wide-ranging PCA fraud case. The different companies operate out of the same buildings and are often run by people with family ties. Already, 18 people have been charged in a separate $9.5 million PCA fraud case.
Do you have personal relationships with the individuals who gave you these checks, Mr. Saeed?
Yes.
Saeed's testimony illustrates how, even if fraud is occurring, it might be difficult to determine who is committing it and the reasons for money exchanging hands.
This is part of our culture to help people.
Within the Minneapolis Somali community, Saeed testified that friends and family members help each other out financially without the paper trail some might expect. Regarding the $188,000 in checks, Saeed said his friends and family members who also run PCA companies gave him loans to get back on his feet after his conviction.
Did you have a written payment agreement or terms and conditions of the loan?
No, Your Honor. Our culture is we trust one another.
The state believes that it's proved by clear and convincing evidence that there is not only a violation, but multiple different violations. Thank you.
Kudos to the Attorney General's office for vigorously pursuing that which they believe is Medicaid fraud. But if this is the extent to which they can show, we are in a sore state of affairs.
Judge Shireen Escalani will make her ruling within the next few weeks. Meantime, the Attorney General's office in a statement said their investigation into the PCA companies that have not been charged is continuing.
Thanks, Lou. Well, sticking with your money, taxpayer money, the state of Minnesota says it's expecting that budget surplus that's so huge to keep going up. The numbers now come out to more than $2.4 billion in surplus. That's 50% higher than an earlier estimate. It's kind of wild to see it be that much more. Final numbers will come out to see what the budget really is at the end of the year. Right now, President Biden is on Air Force One. He left about 2 hours ago, headed for Israel as the war between Israel and Hamas continues. But things have been changing and fast. Biden was supposed to arrive and meet with Israeli leaders in Tel Aviv tomorrow and then speak to leaders from Egypt, Jordan, and Palestine in Jordan. But that latter meeting was abruptly called off just a few hours ago. Those other leaders canceled it after news of a horrific rocket strike at a hospital in Gaza that has killed hundreds of Palestinian people. Palestinian health officials say the Israeli airstrike hit the hospital courtyard where displaced Gazans were taking shelter. The Israeli Defense Force is saying no, it was the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group, and it was a barrage of rockets near the hospital that hit it from them. It was supposed to be a safe place. Thousands of displaced people were sheltering there. Survivors had to go to another hospital about a half a mile away. In the days since the start of this war, the FBI says it's seen a rise in threats against Muslim and Jewish people in our country. The agency says most of them aren't credible right now, but the Anti-Defamation League has counted at least 90 anti-Semitic incidents in that time. You probably heard about this case in Illinois. That 6-year-old Palestinian American boy was killed, his mom severely injured. They were stabbed in their apartment, targeted because they were Muslim. The family's 71-year-old landlord is in jail. He faces murder charges and federal and hate crime charges. In response to that stabbing, more than 100 Jewish groups across our country, including the JCRC of Minnesota and the Dakotas, issued a statement today denouncing Islamophobia and anti-Arab hate, as well as anti-Semitism. The statement said they stand with their neighbors under threat. They called on schools, leaders, law enforcement also to stand up and denounce any forms of hate. Now, for more news on this Tuesday night, here's Julie.
The NTSB says a train derailment in Raymond, Minnesota this past March happened when a rail broke. A new report says the rail was already in bad shape and broke while the train was going over it. The crash forced 800 people to evacuate their homes since the train was carrying ethanol. Thankfully, no one was hurt. If Minnesota Congressman Dean Phillips does want to make a run at the Oval Office, the Star Tribune says he missed a big cutoff. Yesterday was Nevada's deadline to file as a candidate for the state's early presidential primary. More deadlines are coming up, including one in 10 days in New Hampshire. Phillips previously said he would make a decision on whether to run last month. If you park on the street in Minneapolis or St. Paul, a heads up. Both cities started fall street sweeping this week and are restricting parking. The process takes about 4 weeks in Minneapolis and 6 weeks in St. Paul. Chicken nuggets from Taco Bell. The chain is testing nuggets only at restaurants here in Minnesota. Taco Bell has not said which locations or how long those nuggets will be around. Sales and enthusiasm here could decide whether Taco Bell's nuggets roll out nationwide.
Well, there you have it. Coming up on Breaking the News, high school is full of those moments that make parents proud. That's no different for one Edina band mom.
Oh my God, I'm so proud. Like, is his smile bigger or mine?
In just 3 minutes, you're going to meet Oscar. That's Oscar shining under those bright lights, and you're going to meet his teammates behind him. Well, starting tomorrow, high school football teams start turning the page on the regular season. And so do a lot of high school marching bands that have spent months performing during those half times of high school games. But before all of that happens, we wanted to take a minute to recognize one band that broke with tradition to make room for a pretty incredible kid. Here's Kent.
If you're looking for a marching band to get behind, Edina High School offers plenty of pomp and circumstance, mixed with a little bit of walk and roll.
Oh, here they come. Oscar! Oh my God!
17-year-old Oscar Oski Kelly doesn't need to say a word to share his feelings about this ensemble.
He loves it. You can tell. He went by in the parade and he was laughing the whole time. It just makes us really happy.
I think the only thing he doesn't like is the hat.
Blake Kelly admits she didn't dream anything about this would be a good fit, considering the road her son is on.
He has a very rare chromosomal deletion. He got diagnosed when he was 18 months old. He has seizure disorder. He can't walk. He's nonverbal.
But even at an early age, music moved him.
He started band when he was in 5th grade. Everybody picks an instrument, and he was percussionist. My daughter, who's 3 years older, was in marching band, and we used to go to the performances, and I just saw his face light up. He's rolling with the marching band today.
By the time Oscar reached marching
You ready?
age, Blake and his caregivers devised a plan
Tie it on there.
to help him shake up tradition. His debut during last year's homecoming parade was such a hit that the band invited him back for more performances this year.
A fun part about band is that we have so many different people. It's a really inclusive community, and it's a super huge group, so it's fun to get to know a lot of different people, and it's been super fun to march with Oscar. It's a great experience.
It's terrific. His enthusiasm lifts everybody out.
Director Paul Kyle says the biggest challenge is making sure Oscar can keep up, which is why he called in a pro.
My youngest daughter was just hired in the district as a special ed teacher, and I asked her if she'd be interested in helping with Oscar, and she's like, absolutely.
As a former band member herself, Jackie Kyle doesn't just make sure Oscar stays in line during the parades. You see, when the lights are brightest, she also helps him to shine during the football halftime shows.
When we write the drill, working in someone that's in a wheelchair takes up a little bit more space.
Kids are expected to move according to a certain way, so whoever is moving his wheelchair has to know the drills and the routine that they're doing.
It's not always easy, but it is always a sight and a smile to behold.
I never would have imagined that he could do a lot of the same things that I was doing when I went to Edina. It makes people proud to be part of the band.
It also makes for some pretty proud parents.
We want to make sure to capture every scene, yes. It's amazing to see him so accepted by his peers. I mean, that's a huge smile on his face.
And who wouldn't want to get behind that?
I'm just like running, chasing. It makes me so happy. I'm so proud. Like, is his smile bigger or mine? One of my favorite days of the year. It's amazing.
As you could tell, that homecoming parade was pretty special. Oscar's sister and his dad both traveled a long way to check it out. And if you want to see the band in action, Edina will play its last regular season halftime show tomorrow night at 8. And of course, Oscar plans to be there. Tambourine, sunglasses, and a smile. Pretty awesome stuff. Well, it's going to be a beautiful night, possibly. We're going to figure out if that forecast is going to hold out for Oscar's big show tomorrow night. Ben's up next with the forecast. Well, Ben, I hope I didn't speak too soon and spoil Oscar's big night. And the band, is tomorrow going to be clear for bands in high school football?
Well, we have some showers in the forecast, but it doesn't look like a washout material, which is the good news. I mean, what we saw last Friday was pretty wild. I think it was all but 1 hour of the day didn't see rain. And the rain we have in the forecast over the next day and a half or so, it's kind of hit and miss kind of shower activity. And I think showers will be very light and very brief. But regardless, we do have a chance for some rain. Not today, however. We saw plenty of blue sky, especially early on, and we did make it to 64 degrees for a high. Parts of western Minnesota actually made it into the 70s. And for what it's worth, our average last 70-degree day of the year happens to be on October 20th. 20th, and we're not too far away from that. So we're still mostly clear at the moment, but some clouds are starting to filter into the western part of the state. Light rain showers from Bemidji westward. It's all part of the Clipper system, which will be giving us those rain opportunities we talked about. Now, similar to Clippers in the wintertime, these ones, they don't really have a whole lot of moisture with them. There's not a whole lot of water to soak in from the Canadian prairies. So this weather system is basically going to give us a couple of light showers from time to time, starting late tonight, lasting at times throughout Wednesday, and then departing as we head into early Thursday morning. This is Microcast. It's going to give us a better idea. There's the showers that we're tracking right now. Most of those tonight stay across northern Minnesota. Pausing this at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Notice some rain from Brainerd back up towards Bemidji. Some light showers around the Alexandria area. Should be mostly dry, at least to start off the day around the Twin Cities. But as this low kind of spins across the state, we will notice some popcorn showers develop from time to time. No lightning, no thunder. Shouldn't be anything too heavy. And again, these showers should be fairly brief. Now, as we head into tomorrow evening, we're on the backside of this system. Still cloudy through Thursday morning, but clearing taking place out west. And I think the clearing will take place from west to east as we head into Thursday afternoon and evening, and a drier end to the work week, and also a pretty dry MEA weekend for what it's worth. Here's your MEA weekend forecast for select destinations across the state. Some showers possible Thursday and Friday, mainly across northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin, but it looks like most of us will clear out as we head into the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. Seasonal temperatures looking at upper 40s to mid 50s across the state, and again should be mostly dry. Here's your forecast, and notice we don't have any 70s in there. 64 degrees today was basically as warm as the next 7 to 10 days gets. Once we get beyond Thursday, again drying out. Friday looking rather nice, albeit a little bit breezy, but we should stay dry, and we'll call it seasonably warm through the middle part of next week, Gianna.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my kid to adjust to seasonal temperatures. He still just knows one word, and it's playground.
Slowly easing. We're easing into the season, which is nice.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. Well, hey, if you're looking for a new place to live, there's a pretty great house on the market, and the owner is somebody I'm sure you have heard of. We're going to talk about it next. Here's a little fun fact about the internet. We know that you like looking at pictures of homes that are for sale, and you really like looking at pictures of homes that were once owned by famous people. Well, here in Minnesota, home sales across the state have been going down, 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 and down. Why? Well, the interest rate is sky high. Fixed rate for a 30-year loan is at about 8.5%. Why am I talking about that and houses? Well, I found a really nice house for sale around here today that used to belong to a very nice guy that you probably know. Former Minnesota Wild star Jason Zucker and his wife Carly have listed their place in Minneapolis. He plays in Arizona now. And if you can swing it around $3.8 million, it looks very nice. There's lots of televisions and comfy couches. They fill this place. It's like the size of 3 hockey rinks. And while you may not be able to buy it, it is really fun to look at. And if you did want to buy that house, again, very nice, the monthly payment is only $29,449.